Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NLC Division 2, Day 2, Week 1. The ordering will change consistently throughout until that does not mean anything anymore. But it's Viper and Jamada, so your expectations should already be low. Game 2, AaB versus Lightside. Nodding away there. Jamada, only game of the day, fun fact, without a UK or Irish team. What are we making of these two teams?
Um, hmm. I'm definitely looking at AaB and thinking, what will they show us today? Because I think AaB was the team obviously that pulled out the Vel'Koz in the final game of the day, which was definitely very interesting to look at throughout the course of the game. And just in general, I feel like AaB probably the team that's I won't say it's got the least expectations. I was gonna phrase it a little bit differently there. I think they probably got like the least expectations around them as a roster coming into the split. But almost, very much surprised on Tuesday. Lightside, however, definitely towards the higher end, looking at definitely for sure securing playoffs. Looking at sort of that top 3, top 4, or higher, of course, if they can keep a streak going. Sort of position here.
Yes, we've seen the Reddington, we've seen the Corki, two champions that we're familiar seeing on the ban list right now. Whether they want to go for these solo lanes and leave the bot lane completely open, or whether they want to try and take away something like the Caitlyn. Obviously, you mentioned in the first game that there wasn't a half-measure approach necessarily that we've seen so far, but with the Swain, it definitely looks more like they're trying to get rid of these top side chaps.
Yeah, so that was something that Lightside did pull out was the Swain. Saying played a very nasty Swain, and just the composition, it kind of just made things very awkward to dive into, or just the Swain, also joining the dive, or the dives rather that ended up following, were very scary. So a lot of bans going out to the Tuesday drafts, and they also had the Renekton too. So AaB definitely just looking at the previous game and saying, yeah, we don't want to necessarily have to deal with these champions from you guys. And Lightside spanning out the very traditional sort of red side bans for the most part. You do see Corki show up every now and again. Caitlyn typically. I feel like teams have sort of trended more towards being on blue side and banning her, but still definitely a good ban on either side. And Victor will be joining the ban bench. So quite a few things still up. Pretty much all of the other AD carries and the Echo Jinx will be locked in here for Khan. So over to Lightside, you can always leave your AD carry here. You have priority on the jungle as well. So honestly, if they want to lock in Thresh, take away that safety net for the Jinx, if that's what they necessarily want, and then go for something like, Jarvan to lock down the Jinx inside of that Cataclysm. Very strong rotation for them, for Lightside.
Yeah, and as you said, they've left their bot lane open completely. Of course, Aphelios is a very strong pickup if they want to take that before the next round of bans, or if they want to leave it and say, hey, there's more than one thing that can work in this meta, you take away whatever you want. Now it's up to AaB if they want to go for that jungle pick, what can counter. Viego, of course, very strong, going to be locked in, and now it's the case of, do they show a solo lane and try and get that through before the second round of bans? Do they show support and just roll the dice?
Yeah, I feel like you probably want to go support unless you want to lock in something that sort of counteracts this dive. We saw Lundqvist run the set actually on Tuesday, which honestly right here it wouldn't be too terrible in terms of like into just the Jarvan being shown right now, but I feel like you almost always want to pick up your support. Or at the very least, the Karma will be a flex pick here for AaB. So not showing their hands, necessarily too much with that pick. We'll have to see whether or not it actually ends up. Oh, I've been raised in
I
the
just saw it, like I was like, am I just like
um,
lost my mind for a second?
Yeah.
Javon just attacked the camera. What's going on?
But yeah, obviously Karma can be flexed, and I like this actually from Lightside. Ziggs here, if it has to be flexed into the mid lane, it can go into the mid lane, but definitely can have a very fine time just farming into the Jinx. And of course, the follow up, on top of a Cataclysm, if there's no flash on those targets inside of it, that Mega Inferno Bomb is going to blow people to smithereens. So Lightside now gonna remove away the Vel'Koz. They don't want to deal with that for now, even though they do have the means of engage to reach it, unlike the previous team that played into Blue Ben's Vel'Koz. Still, just removing comfort is always definitely something that you want to look towards.
But I'm hoping that Lightside are just saying, you played Vel'Koz day one, we're going to ban it to see what else you pick. Because we want to see some spice. The Aurelia going to be taken off the table. Very oppressive pickup. So glad to see AaB removing any chance of seeing her on the Rift in this game. But it looks like mid lane could be pinched again, but we've got the Syndra, the Orianna, LeBlanc, all strong champions still available. So you're not going to be able to take away every single option. And it's a case of where Lightside want to take their counter pick.
Yeah, that is also true. just thinking. I mean, I would imagine something. I don't know. Victor's already gone, so they actually
Yes.
go for something super niche in the Veigar. And I know, you know, for anybody that doesn't know, Will absolutely despises this champion.
Blessed.
Veigar honestly wouldn't be too terrible to pick, depending on what Lightside go here, because it can be very oppressive at stopping Jarvan engages. And just sort of just providing this massive area space where, you know, you can no longer, you know, enter unless you're committing flashes, unless you're committing some kind of dash as well. And FIP hovering this Twisted Fate wouldn't be too bad. There's not a lot of, you know, not a lot being shown on the side lanes for now for AaB potentially. So looking to maybe punish.
See a Vex potentially coming in from AaB.
I mean, I don't think it would be terrible here, honestly. Vex is just a very strong champion in general, and I think it can really, you know, put Twisted Fate in a very uncomfortable position in the early laning phase where he can't match the priority, and if he's ever gonna, you know, Destiny Gate to a side lane, he's always missing waves here. And I would love this Gwen lock-in just because it can be very, very good at sort of stopping those gold cards for herself. Whenever Twisted Fate decides to Destiny Gate up there, if you hold on to that Hallowed Mist in anticipation, then you can always avoid the stun. So very smart lock-in. Now we're looking towards Blueben on this mid lane pick, hovering a couple of different things. Lissandra now, I don't think this would be, you know, too terrible, but then I would be a little bit concerned maybe for damage. But honestly, when you've got Gwen and Jinx towards the later stages of the game, I think pairing up this Lissandra and the Viego in the early game provides you a lot of CC and a way to sort of bridge yourself into those later game stages where you then start to provide setup for your carries. So Lightside now, top side pick into this Gwen, plenty of things open. I wouldn't be too surprised to see this Akshan locked in, but Svenne is also a pretty mean Gangplank player, and that could play really well into the composition of what Lightside have. But yeah, Akshan, very powerful, ranged into melee. I can definitely see this matchup being very, very one-sided towards the Akshan in the early stages of the game. To the Gwen.
Yeah, Gwen's not going to have a great time. She's going to be skipping around, get shots in the face. Has to back off the wave. So these compositions, right, game one I complained because there wasn't enough spice. It was mild. It wasn't peri-peri as it were. These compositions, you know, there's been some, they've seasoned them, Jamada, is what I would say.
We're not going to have a conversation about seasoning on it. I think we both know how that would end. But what I will say is AaB are almost in color sync. Look at that. Blue almost across the board. Just Karma kind of ruining it with that.
Yeah, the green. Green.
Yeah, man. But no, I think AaB, they've given themselves pretty decent tools here. Honestly, I think they've got a decent jungle matchup where Jarvan has quite a few strong champions that actually take over. Fresh, Twisted Fate, Jarvan, all of these combo basic abilities where, you know, locking down targets to then immediately heartbreaking them again. It's a very powerful tool. Gunkus on the side lane. I mean, Gwen is in that upper echelon of like Jax, Camille, Fiora side lane scaling. I'm not sure where Akshan sits in that sort of table. I'm not sure whether or not he can necessarily outscale the Gwen, but he's effectively an AD carry. So he's in like an assassin AD carry. Not along the same lines as sort of like a Vayne, but he can put out some pretty nasty burst damage. So we'll have to see whether or not Svenne can sort of pilot that one to the point in the early game where he really puts Gunkus in a hole, so that scaling never really kicks in. And just in general, on the opposite side, I feel like, you know, you've got all of these strong team fighting tools, and you've got all the setup in the early game between the Jarvan, between the Twisted Fate and the Thresh to sort of get yourself to those later stages where the Akshan can really come online. And Svenne is actually running Ignite on this Akshan, so expect a lot of pressure to be put down on Gunkus as well, just because he also doesn't have the flash. So this maybe makes him a relatively easy target for FIP and Victor to try and pick on.
Just looking over the keystones as we jump into game for our second game of the evening. Nothing standing out to me as being particularly exciting necessarily. Is there anything that is striking you as a little bit different?
No, everything seems to be pretty on key here. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. No, I mean, no, nothing. Everything's pretty normal here.
Nice.
FIP maybe running the spellbook over something like the Predator these days is something that has become a little more popular. But I think the flexibility of having a lot of different summoner spells in a game like this, where you've got so much CC and so many things that you maybe want to be kiting and running away from, having all of those additional spells might be nice. As there you go, you can already see some of the trading power that Akshan actually has available to him. That looked like maybe an auto Q auto, and of course Akshan can proc those PTA stacks very, very quickly because it's passive double auto. So Gunkus likely not going to have the most enjoyable experience in the top lane. Melee into range is never really that fun, but Akshan really does exaggerate at that point quite heavily as FiP getting some stack deck trades in. Definitely losing out on the health department though, as Electrocute plus those creeps really eat into his health bar. He's sub 100 HP on the first wave.
Nicely Khan celebrating the Lunar New Year as well with the skin. That going on at the moment. If you like TFT, get involved. And for AaB, they're going to hope that Khan likes scaling, because if this Jinx can get online, things could go from bad to worse. Because you already mentioned that Akshan, of course, being that AD assassin, might not scale in to beat up the Gwen necessarily. But we all know exactly what Jinx can do in the late game.
Yeah, absolutely know what Jinx can do in the late game. Absolute menace, especially, you know, when in games where there's not too much hard TC or a hard engage rather. Fortunately, Lightside do, of course. They have things like Destiny Gate, and eventually FiP will have access to a rapid fire cannon, so those stuns can come from long range. Khan, of course, counteract that, has the cleanse, but the Jarvan is always going to be in the game. So Jarvan will effectively be able to force summoners on cooldown if he so wishes, and he knows he won't be able to lose too much for it. But yeah, looking towards that topside matchup again, you can already see big CS lead occurring. I think Svenne is also stacking up the wave, so it's making it look a little worse than it actually is, but third wave crash, 14 CS to 3 right now. It's not the best feeling in the world as Victor on a ward is aware of it. And yeah, I mean, there's what, 3, 7, there's 10 creeps in this wave, so even if Lundqvist gets all these, which it looks like he will, because Svenne's just going to run straight through the tower, this Victor, to get this Grump. And this is the kind of thing that you can do. When you have all this priority in the top side, Lundqvist, bot side.
I'm going to try and get a follow through to grab one more, but won't be able to get it, and it's just going to be support or combat, both picking up a kill.
Yeah, well, Jinx actually survived.
AaB in a lot of trouble as well. Yeah. And with
2 more autos.
Jarvan's there, coming through. It's going to be 2v2, but Blueburn gets the kill. FaDiP not able to survive this time around, and Bobas going to be able to chase Jarvan away, but shouldn't be too much. But yeah, I'm very, very interested to see. Oh, actually, Svenne at the top side doesn't want me to analyze anything as he's putting the pressure on even further. But now with melee range, Lundqvist is trying to return, give as good as he's getting. He might actually have enough. One more auto will be enough. It's close, but it's Svenne with the kill.
Yeah, I think what made that fight look really awkward was the fact that the vision was being constantly traded between both the top laners there. It's very hard to tell when you have situations like this because, of course, as spectators, we have the God view. But I think that ward in the bush that Svenne put down towards the final parts of that trade might have been what actually gave him the edge. Full vision in the bush, finally able to completely get some auto attacks. We'll get a replay of what happened on the bot side as well. I hope we can potentially get a replay of the top side too, where we get some toggles on the vision. But yeah, bot side, okay, it just looks like a little bit of an overstep there from Tun. Ignite ticks down, and yeah, Touch realizes very promptly that he is not able to trade into Khan any longer. As replay here, it does happen a little bit later on, but we'll see. So this is Vision as well. FiP, of course, the mid lane gang. So trade starts out, the Ignite is down super early, but once that Ignite fizzles, you'll notice the Vision is then gone, and then there's, just for a brief moment, Vision was left alone, so Zeneni couldn't actually finish up the kill straight away. So nice presence of mind to immediately drop the ward in the bush. I think because of Lundqvist's positioning, very fortunately stepped out, so it made the wall attack come out just a frame sooner than it maybe deserved to. But yeah, Vision in situations like that, especially in range versus melee, they can make all the difference. We almost saw Svenne lose out on a 1v1, which he should have been, by all rights, promptly winning out. As FiP maybe in trouble again. 3-man gang.
Members of AaB are here in support. Does they have a way out? No flash. Stunned for days, and it's going to be Boas securing that kill.
Yeah, that will be Boas picking up that kill. And yeah, FiP, Twisted Fate, no flash. Very easy target here. Svenne is actually on the opposite side of the lane. Load missed. Can be enough here. Lundqvist walks out. Just barely Ghost. Saving him. Extra movement speed means Svenne can't quite catch up. Ultimate, I don't believe, was available either for Svenne. Just ticked over that level 6. So Svenne had that level 6 mark. Definitely would have been a free kill there. But it's going to force him out of the lane. He's going to miss an extra wave. And Svenne should be able to get all of these plates as well. If he can go for 2, it's very nice. Maybe a reset here for tempo could be cool, but I think just the fact that the cannon's dead so soon, see all of these minions, Lundqvist is going to be missing out on. So Lightside doing a great job of making sure that Svenne is getting as much free time up here on the top side as possible and extending his lead as much as he can.
Yeah, it's keeping the oppression in the top side going for as long as you want, and what's the need? I understand giving him some time, but you can see the Twisted Fate in the jump and wandering on up. Fortunately, they decide against, but Gunkus actually only about a wave of minions behind at the moment, just because of that teleport being available after his death. But again, Akshan just gonna keep things miserable for Gwen in the top side.
Yeah, exactly. Akshan, you know, so I hadn't played too much League of Legends. I'm gonna run a little bit. I feel like too much happen in the next minute or so. Though, as I say that, AaB have opened up out onto the top side, and it looks like they want to try and punish Svene. However, Svene maybe just reads the map right, has a reset timer, so just wants to take it. Yeah, I had the very pleasurable experience of laning into Akshan on the top.
Okay.
And you know me, I'm a Gangplank player, so I was playing Gangplank. I never want to have to deal with that lane ever again. That was by far the most miserable lane matchup.
Well, you drop a barrel and he's like, no.
And he just autos it as soon as it hits too. Like, you can't actually lane. It's kind of crazy. And when you think about other weak laners as well, where, you know, maybe your trading power is in the melee range, where Akshan just kind of negates it. Yeah, it feels really, really horrible. And especially with Ignite, it just feels like you're trading power up. You could never really, you know, opt for trades, because if you trade equally in HP, you're never really trading equally, because you've always got to deal with that extra 200 to 300 damage that Ignite provides. And yeah, I mean, even in a situation like this, Svene can very easily chase down if he really wanted to, or had the information available. But now Herald being contested here, very dangerous for 5P.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get a stun up, but CC could follow through. Nice flash will get him out of dodge, though, as Bombus and Blueburn will be back towards the fight. The members are showing up from both teams. Svene swinging into action, getting towards Bombus, but there's the Cataclysm, and members falling from both sides. Jarvan will survive for a second longer. It's actually a double kill going over to Fatty P, and Gungus is forced away. Akshan swings into the mix and helps his mid laner pick up a triple.
Yeah, all right, well, 5P has been bullied for a majority of this game by the AaB mid jungle, and even Tun went and got up there to get his reaction. But 5P picks up triple on this skull, on the, well, it's close to the skull crab, on this Herald fight. They wanted to contest. AaB did, and they got punished for it. Real nice. And cleanse wasn't actually in action there, but the spellbook almost, you know, giving him the cleanse value, as this is going to be a very interesting trade.
That's Dom out of the box, will cleanse as well. That's just taxing those summoners. And Sena not done yet, looking towards Jinx, but they won't be able to find them. Nice zap coming through, goes wide, touch gets sniped to the face of Sena. Almost the victim, but Khan not interested in following through with the health bar that low, and AaB pick up a return kill.
Yeah, I just feel like Lightside getting a little bit too over-eager. You definitely understand feeling comfortable in that kind of position, but there's no armor available on Sena. She used it to clear out the bottom side wave. And because of that, it wasn't actually available to be used in that fight there. So AaB capitalize, a little bit of over eagerness to try and find a 2v2 kill there from Lightside, but it's not going to be the end of the world, right? You can see Sena already chunking down that tower, and Moschap is going to give her a bit of extra mana too. Stay around a little longer, but Bobbus is in the area. Definitely could cause some issues, but going to just take a reset. The Ziggs is. Now Lightside can probably teleport the Ziggs back in and find this dragon if they so wish. Herald could also be dropped in the bottom side to take that tower if they want the plates now. Loads of options right now for Lightside. AaB, though, are in the areas to potentially respond to all of these plays.
Fanny P now, as you mentioned, not someone you can pick on anymore. Be careful of who you pick on in laning fights, because when you feed them a triple in a team fight, they start having resources that they can use to bully back. Tun needs to be a little bit careful, but put some damage into touch as the dragon will be started up.
Yeah, dragon is going to be started up. I feel like AaB just not really willing at this moment in time to fight over it. And will be the singular Chemtech dragon going over to Lightside, and we had a brief hover over that tower on the top side as well. Svene almost has it down to one plate already, and as you can see, this tower dead to rights. Herald doesn't even need to be used now. I like it to actually be held onto. I like that Aspect is doing this, and actually looking for maybe a tower.
Fatty P gets the stun down. Khan goes low. It's going to be taken out if Fatty P gets a couple more auto attacks. It's going to take a little bit longer than you'd like, but it's going to be another kill for Twisted Fate, and the tower still standing, but can be satcheled if Sena wants to do so.
Yeah.
And Lightside make another great play.
Yeah, and honestly, Lightside are in a position where if they're quick enough, they could strip all 15 tower plates. 2 minutes is definitely a small window. But they've got that bottom side tier 2 or tier 1.
Oh, that's a really good stop from Turnham with the Viego here as well. Sena is in a heap of trouble. Flash, but the Lantern just a little slow as Boba picks up the kill. Meanwhile, Kunkka's in the top side looking to scrap once again, but it will be the Ignite picking up the kill, and Svene might be clearing out that top tower just as his teammates did bot.
Yeah, I mean, so bottom side tower dead. Svene should get this top tower as well. This is looking like a 15-plate game, Will, because Victor can move into the mid lane, drop the Herald. That's going to bring it down to around the plate and a half, because look at how much time AaB has. And then all Sane has to do is just walk up to the tower and satchel it.
And she's going to be wealthy. The team's going to be wealthy.
Yeah,
and things are looking great for Lightside, although AaB in a lot of trouble, gets caught up and coming on through. Cataclysm flash, very nice from Bluebird as Touch has to pick up onto Bobus, though he's the new target as the tower is taken low. Nice kill going through Pajama, but tanking it out. They can't get it down, they managed to get it. AaB secures it and runs over the corpse of his fallen. Sliver of hell. There's Ton thinking about the mantra. Bluebird moves forward, gets caught up with the death sentence, and he goes golden, and they get away. It's the perfect crime as Svene will snipe Ton down. Khan can do nothing as they go in for another. It's level 8 versus level 10, and Svene picks up the double. And I don't know about you, Mr. Akshan, but it looks like Lightside are the scoundrels today.
Oh my god, it's daylight robbery from Lightside start to finish. So like Victor goes down, yes, but Akshan comes in and raises him. I don't know how much time it cost his death time, but either way, just seeing the prompt, it just feels bad, doesn't it? And Lightside, they effectively don't really lose anything for that. And even saying that she's down in the bottom side, getting 3 tower plates. Okay, Lundqvist gets 1 in return, but now likely to go down to this in the extended chase down. No ghost, no ultimate here. Lundqvist really dead to right here. And oh my, Lightside, they went out everywhere. Okay, Ziggs will drop in the exchange on the bottom side, but that's 600 gold just going in Sena's back pocket. She's fine, she's chilling. She's cashed out basically on all of these plates. And it's almost a 10,000 gold lead, Will, between these two teams at 14 minutes. Pretty much strictly through all of the plates and that bottom side tier 2.
It's pretty wild in terms of just how well Lightside have been playing the macro. Their team composition has been built very well for it, and their decision making has been almost pitch perfect. Yes, there have been some redundancies and some issues with it, but it doesn't matter because the composition has been designed so well to be able to move around the map, to be able to get all of the investment they want. Bobass manages to secure his blue buff from the hands of Lightside, but it's just going to be a case of they're just going to hurl their wallets at AaB.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, just look at the inventories, right? Akshan, 2 items. Gwen's not even finished her Riftmaker. Gordrinker's in. Falls Victor as across the board. Bobass.
Oh, he just finished. Noon quiver.
Yeah, and I mean, also the mid lane. That's a 14-minute, or 15-minute rather, rapid fire cannon with a Sheen on top of it. Now, granted, the Twisted Fate build path is certainly a lot cheaper than most mid lane majors, but when you zoom out and just say, well, it's a 3,000 gold lead, yeah, it really does start to show.
It's just
yeah. Oh man, that's. We just had an I'll just say, look at the top lane difference in gold. It's almost 4,000. 16 minutes in, and Svene, I mean, probably fancying a go here at Lundqvist. 2 items, no Riftmaker available. And
Victor's here as well because
why not?
He wanted to watch, I guess. Doesn't need to be there for any kind of play, but I've just. Lundqvist was doing so well in the early stages to keep in those fights and to make things as bearable as possible. And now the let's not look at the gold again. We don't need to see that.
No, we don't. And even Svene managed to get 600 gold
here. Where you going? Gets the
they have a rough idea.
I really don't know if you want this one. Really nice stun though. The ult coming from Zane is big, and Lightside turn a bad situation into an okay one. AaB goes down though. It will be a 1-0 as things stand. but Bombas will even up the playing field, getting taken out. Yeah, they give over some shutdown, but in the top side, they get an inhibitor at 17 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, all right, I will say it's actually good they don't get that inhibitor, because otherwise that would have been a wave, or a lane rather, where no
Imagine the
XP.
gold.
Yeah,
Imagine the gold.
No, but the gold would have swung back in AaB's favor a little. Well,
Ah.
I wouldn't say favor, but it would have swung a little bit closer back to their side over time, just because Lightside would lose an entire wave of XP and gold. So no matter how you look at it, that's always going to be waves that will go to AaB. So the fact they don't get the inhibitor, pretty good. I wonder whether or not Lundqvist could have maybe left it. We didn't really get to see the top side. We're a bit busy on seeing Lightside win out on a pretty one-sided fight towards the bottom side, but base open on both ends. 17.5 minutes in. Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you other than Lightside had a very stellar early game with lanes that were played around pretty much excellently. And after that Rift Herald fight, that very first one, I feel like they just had pretty much control start to finish. Even if they're trading kills in some of these exchanges where maybe they shouldn't be, they're still winning out. And that is the important thing. The people that need to stay alive in these skirmishes stay alive. And they are picking up the objectives alongside it.
I can just, in the quiet moments, I can hear our producer's keyboard buying Lightside stock. Like, he's seeing the revenue. He's seeing the revenue streams. He's like, since CEO Sada came into power at this company, it's just been growth. The Excel spreadsheets are off the charts, and AaB,
Okay.
I don't know, they're looking to try and get a death rush, but triple knock-up into Cataclysm, locking in place. The damage is pretty big. Khan in a lot of trouble. Just has to cleanse away though, and now Sana has got Phobos on her face, but the damage is pretty decent. Svene now moving in. Of course, he wasn't super involved. Phobos still getting reset after reset, has taken on the form of Ziggs.
Jarvan's been revived.
Lubin gets away. Jarvan could return to the fight. Svene can't find Lissandra on the way out, but Touch needs to be a little bit careful. Not going to be caught out by the jungler. Thinking about going back in as AaB and Svene. Thinking about Viego. Gets the gold card locked. Gets the stun before the CC, before the dash, before the follow through. And the damage is big. It's another play from AaB as the swing round into Gunkus, who has seen this one before and very smartly takes his leave.
Yeah, very smartly indeed. And, you know, granted, considering it's a 10,000 gold deficit, AaB, I guess maybe it's because the death timers are a little bit scared, but you would have imagined they could have just full-blown got 5-man ace, but the fight a little bit scared. Striker gets caught out, or Spectre, sorry, gets caught out, and eventually does get revived, but so far away, no teleport. It's not a solo lane, and that's the more obnoxious things. Whenever you see Svene potentially resurrect AaB or Sana, and they're just able to teleport back into the fight like they didn't die 15 seconds earlier. Those would be the more obnoxious things. But AaB, I guess, you know, if there's any kind of positive, they didn't get 5-man aced. I think 10,000 gold deficit.
I mean, once you've bought, when you're full build, gold doesn't matter.
Yeah, true. Right, if we can get to that point.
So
they're working towards it.
I need to be a little bit careful. Looks like it's going to be another fight. AaB really want to scrap, and maybe given some motivation by the fact they didn't lose the last fight, move in. But Baron on the menu now, you've got to imagine the Lightside want to be taking it pretty soonish.
Yeah, and I feel like for AaB, Gunkus, when is immune?
Actually doing a decent amount of damage, and the CC doesn't land through. Touch needs to be careful, puts up the box, but Blueben could move around it. Decides against. Some members of Lightside have taken a bit. Akshad's on the back though, looking for the damage. As you said, this is the assassin side coming on through. Swings round, but really nice flash from Viego. Sees him out. Svene's not quite done yet though. Just making sure that AaB go right back into their base, but now might be caught out 1v5. Looking to get a bit of damage on the tower before he is taken out. A bit of aggression there. Sees a shutdown go the way of AaB. Lightside. A crack starting to show a little bit.
Maybe. I mean, honestly, I like this more from AaB. They're the ones that are actually going out of their way to try and find these fights despite the massive gold deficit that they find themselves in. And that's a 1,000 gold shutdown, which honestly has closed the gap. Well, it's 10% of the way to coming back to parry. And I mean, they will at the very least grab this dragon. So it's not like, you know, they've got this massive timer over their heads where effectively there's this soul that they're, you know, it's kind of impending doomsday clock of time waiting. And Lightside, I mean, I think this is a kind of composition where there is definitely innate scaling to it. Zig scales to the moon. Akshan, we don't often get to see scale that well because either in pro play he stomps or gets stomped. So I'll have to see how high Svene actually goes in that regard. But when you're staring down a Gwen, you're staring down a Jinx, you know what the capabilities of these two champions are. And Lundqvist, 2 items. Khan, 2 items now as well. They are online, and they are ready to fight. It's going to be about whether or not AaB can find the setups for it, because if there is one thing I'll criticize, I think Lightside, with this massive gold lead, they've been a little bit complacent, I would say, about how they're actually starting some of these fights or finding themselves in these positions where they're getting picked on a little bit. And like you said earlier on in the game, they're more or less fighting with their wallets more than their brains, as you'll get caught out.
I mean, when your wallets are these fat, they've already taken down Ton. Khan burns
there you go.
2. Sena throws the ult just to make sure everything's all right. It's a 3v5 now. AaB needs to be careful. Blueben goes to half health, and Lightside, after grabbing a pick that they needed, will move on to the Baron.
Yeah, but this is what they had to be doing. Sort of. I was about to say 10 minutes ago this is a 32-minute game, but it's only 23 minutes, which kind of speaks to
12-minute mark. You need to be picking going to
12
Baron.
minute. Yeah,
Analyst, by the way.
By the way. But no, this is the kind of thing they had to be doing from probably after they cracked open the base on both sides. Just as soon as AaB sort of overstep, you've got the Jarvan, you've got the Thresh, you've got the Twist of Fate. Just immediately punish any kind of, oh, you're alone? All right, great, you're going to get CC'd and die. And they finally do that. After a little bit of scuffle around the mid-jungle sort of area, the mid-tier 1, mid-tier 2 areas of the map. And now with that Baron buff, you'd expect they actually push into the base, crack open that final mid-tier 1, and of course get the inhibitors. With a gold lead this big, I mean, you would imagine that one fight into end, but AaB, they've been fairly tenacious to some of the aid of Lightside sort of, just kind of taking it a little bit slow and being relaxed and trying to end the game.
Which, you can't necessarily blame them for not being able to close out at the 18, 19, 20-minute markers. Probably high expectation indeed. Khan's gone.
Huh.
Right, okay, let's not talk about them being lackadaisical and slow anymore, because they've just broken open the third inhibitor tower at 24 minutes in, and should be able to take the first inhibitor. This isn't too soon now, is it, Jamada? This is all fine.
This is on pace, yeah. This is much better. Much better. I'm sure Wicked will be happy with the step up in pace, their coach, of course. As there you go, third inhibitor will be dropping, and it's pretty much all a waiting game now, as those supers will start to funnel through. First waves already on their way from the bottom and mid lane. We'll have to wait an extra wave for the doubles to spawn up in the top side as well, but Lightside, they can just sit here, buy time. They know they have the item advantages, so it's just going to be a bit of a cowboy stare off until these waves catch up with them. That mid lane supers on their way now.
Oh, that damage coming off through onto Khan. You've got to imagine that the fight, AaB have to pull the trigger sooner rather than later, because fighting in these waves, their towers are going to go down. They might have missed the window, you know, and they're running out onto the map now. Yeah, they're going to take the fight, but their second inhibitor tower's already, the second next tower's already gone, in fact. And the damage coming through is pretty mind-boggling. Fatty B is the target. Lundqvist will get the trade, but AaB just, there's nowhere for them to go. They don't have the damage, they don't have the health bars, they don't have the items, and they don't have the cash. Lightside stock, buy, as they pick up their second win.
Yeah, bit of a spanking by Lightside there into AaB. AaB, unfortunately for them, just couldn't really stand up to the laning prowess in the early stages. Which then kind of turned into this massive snowball off the back of that. It was that Herald fight really which started to get things going, because as soon as the Herald was in pocket, Svictor was able to walk down towards the bottom side where plates were already stripped off. Svene was winning his lane out, right? And that's the first time, I won't say ever, I feel like I've definitely seen another competitive game where 15 plates drop pre-14, but that's definitely the first one I've seen in a very long time. And with that much gold going into the back pockets of basically everybody across the board, it's just so hard to match IMs if you're AaB. And at that point, Lightside just stood there and slapped them with their wallets, and, fight after fight. And, props to AaB for standing up for themselves a little bit, but it just felt like a game that was already too far gone for them after about 15 minutes.
Well, I'm going to go grab my wallet. You guys can all grab a drink because when we come back, it's going to be interview time. Don't go too far. We'll see you in a few minutes.